Welcome to a midweek episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, represented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you already know you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this lovely Wednesday, watching along out there with us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comments section. As you know, it's always exciting watching you guys interact, share your thoughts on the show, and then get and interact with you guys a little bit down in the chat as we continue to grow and build this Hornets Daily family here on the program. Again, it is a Wednesday, it's a midweek show, but that does not mean there's not some things buzzing around in the Queen City on the docket for today. We know we've talked a lot about expectations and what this 25-26 Hornets team can be going forward into the regular season, but Sports Illustrated has dropped what they think are three realistic expectations for the Hornets regular season. We'll talk about those today. And it's the dog days of summer. We're in the middle of August. We're creeping towards the preseason and the regular season. But you know we've got to take a trip down to the rumor mill today. We'll tell you about the latest Charlotte Hornets trade that I've seen floating around on the internet. We've got our first projected rotations coming out now as we get closer to the regular season, to the preseason. We're still early August, but now we've got some projected starters and reserves coming out. We'll talk about the lineup rotations or the possible lineup rotations for the Hornets come the regular season. And the most fun thing we get to talk about today, we know about the first two, or not the first two, but we know about two preseason games that have already been announced. But on Tuesday, the entire preseason schedule, the full slate, has been released. We know all of the Hornets preseason games now. We'll dive into some of those and talk about what to expect, what to look for in the preseason for the Hornets. Now, you know we don't do beating around the bush here on the program. Not something I'm fond of. I like to dive head first and get things going here on the show. That's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, we know that the 25-26 season, we've talked about it a lot here on the program. I've mentioned it several times, is coming with a lot of expectations, a lot of positivity, a lot of optimism for the Charlotte Hornets, something not said very often in recent memory. This is probably the most excited the city, the fan base, the front office, the coaching staff, maybe even the players have been about this Hornets franchise, about this organization. This is the most positive that has come out of that of an offseason in Charlotte in a very long time. Now, I want to start this off by saying it's nice just to have expectations. The Hornets aren't used to being a team that really has any expectations for the season other than merely just being a basketball team. So that's a first step forwards, first positive thing coming out of the new regime, of the new culture change that is taking place down in Charlotte. And I've said it myself many times that I think this team can be a playoff team this year. Another couple things I expect going into the season. I think big steps forward are coming from Tajon Salan, Moussa Diabate. I've ranted and raved about them all summer long as well. If you've been watching along, you know I'm very high on both of those guys and their development and the steps they're going to take this season and going forward. But Sports Illustrated, Zach Roberts has released what he thinks are three realistic expectations for the whole team, for the Charlotte Hornets going forwards. And they go like this. Number one is more than 30 wins for the Hornets. Take that. That's a very positive expectation to have. I'm happy to expect that, and hopefully it'll come to fruition. The second one, LaMelo averages less than 25 points per game. I'll talk a little more about that in just a second. Number three, only one rookie on the team will average double figures. Now, the biggest takeaway that I got from all of this is that none of these things at all are negative expectations. Sports Illustrated and Zach Roberts are not looking for the Hornets to be in the basement again. They're not looking for them to tank. They're not saying we should expect another high lottery pick. So there is positivity coming now from the media, from the outside, as well as the fan base and the front office and the rest of the Charlotte Hornets. It's now starting to spread a little bit that some positivity is coming out of the organization, coming away from Charlotte going forwards into the regular season. That is a very good sign. That's a very good thing as well. Now, 30-plus wins admittedly would be fantastic, so I am all in on that. Don't really have a lot to say about the first expectation other than let's hope 30 wins is in the cards for the Hornets this season. LaMelo averaging less than 25 points per game. Now, that may sound a lot worse than it is. That may sound like that comes with a drop-off in production, a drop-off in performance for LaMelo, but I do not think that's what Roberts means here when talking about LaMelo and his scoring average going down. Yes, he averaged that last year, we know, mostly out of necessity because he was the only option at multiple times on the floor for the Hornets. He had to be the guy. If they were going to score, it had to be done by LaMelo. So not only did his points per game go up, his shooting volume increased. He was a little bit more inefficient due to those things. I think this drop in points per game will come with a rise in his other statistics. His assists per game are going to go up. I very much think LaMelo is going to fix the turnover bug this year. He's going to hold on to the ball a little better, and that's all due to the pieces that have come in around him. It's not that he's going to get worse by any means. I actually think LaMelo is going to take that next step and become a better basketball player, a better leader, a better point guard on the floor. But he's not going to have to do it by scoring 25 points per game. So I think if his average dips down into the low 20s, that's not going to be a shock. But I think his assists per game, his efficiency, his number of turnovers will go down. All of the other numbers are going to go up based solely on the pieces around him and the fact that I'm hoping he's going to play in more games this season. That and the sheer volume of games he's on the floor will make it more difficult for his scoring average to stay around 25. But again, I don't think that is what is necessary. I'm not sure LaMelo scoring 25 is what's going to be the key to success for the Hornets. So I think if it does dip a little bit below 25 points per game, I think that's honestly probably a good thing and means some of the other guys are producing and LaMelo is contributing in other ways, not just scoring the basketball. So I don't think him not averaging 25 points, I don't think that's a slight or a negative, or even Roberts trying to say that LaMelo is going to have a dip in production or a fall off this season at all. I think he's actually going to improve his game. Now, the one expectation I don't know if I fully agree with or if I'm all the way on the board with, and that's just more excitement, optimism, and hope coming on my end, is that only one rookie will average in double figures. This is the one I think I don't want to say have a problem with, but I'm not sure if I completely agree. Robert says that obviously it's going to be Knipple who is likely to average double figures for the Hornets in terms of rookies, as he's probably going to see the most minutes at some point, even be worked into the starting rotation. That's still up in the air. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes as a matter of a fact. But I think, as you know, as I've told you before, keep an eye on him for a long shot for Rookie of the Year. As a matter of fact, I think that Liam McNeely is going to force this team's hand and find himself on the floor quite a bit. And if he can do that, I think he's a sneaky option for maybe averaging double figures, 10, 11 points a game, just off the bench alone. We saw the potential and the capabilities on the offensive end of the floor out in Summer League, out in Vegas, when McNeely put on two very, very impressive performances, and he continues to trend upwards in terms of development. If that takes place and that continues to go in the right direction, then I don't see any way that he doesn't force his hand into some more minutes and forcing the Hornets to play him, getting himself on the floor, finding a way into the rotation. And I think he is more than capable of averaging, like I say, 10 or 11 points off the bench. So I'm not sure that I agree with the only one rookie will average double figures. I know that there's a lot of other scoring options within this Charlotte Hornets team, especially with some of the additions that have been made in the offseason. But let's not forget, McNeely is supposed to be one of those additions. He was brought in because of his shooting ability, which he put on display in Las Vegas. We know about his ability to drive to the basket. If he can continue to improve as a shooter, find and make more open shots, then I don't see any reason why Liam McNeely can't average 10, 11, 12 points a game off of the bench. He, again, is somebody I'm very high on. I've talked about that a couple times. I've got him as a potential sleeper for winning Rookie of the Year. I'm high on Liam McNeely, and hopefully he can continue to develop, and some of those expectations for him will turn into realistic things that happen. Again, the biggest takeaway from this is that none of these expectations are negative, although it's also clear Roberts and many others believe that the Hornets can begin to move in the right direction. Again, another positive thing as the media is kind of starting to catch on. The outside world is starting to say some good things going forwards about the Charlotte Hornets, and that this team can move into the right direction going into the future, not just next year, but these expectations should lead to more positivity going forward as well. Now, I told you it is Wednesday. It is the middle of August. We're still in the dog days of summer. We're still in the trenches here as we get closer to the preseason, closer to training camp, closer to the regular season. Basketball is on the way, folks, but that still means there are trips to be taken down to the rumor mill. You know that's what we do here in the summertime. And today it is Thomas Corelli over at, again, Sports Illustrated. He's the newest writer to mock up a trade involving the Charlotte Hornets. And we're back to having LaMelo's name in the news. He is the one that Corelli has mentioned. He's the Hornet Corelli has mentioned that could be on the move in this mock trade. I'm going to go ahead and be fully transparent here. I don't love this mock trade. I'm not a fan of it, but it is something that I saw, so I felt the need to put it in the show to see if you guys think that I'm being crazy or if you agree with me that this trade, it's not all it's cracked up to be. The proposed trade would send LaMelo Ball to the Pelicans, and the Hornets in return would get back Trey Murphy III, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, and a 2027 first-round pick. Now, again, it didn't take a lot of thought for me, and I've now seen this and had some time to sit on it, and it's still going to be a hard no from me. I'm not a fan of this trade. I'd imagine the front office as well wouldn't like this type of trade. This asking price, what their expectations in getting back from LaMelo and what this return would be just aren't the same thing in my opinion. I think this is a little bit too low for what the Hornets value LaMelo at and how good they think he is. Now, again, it would be an upgrade on defense. Let's not move past that part. We can't overlook that. Trey Murphy III, Jose Alvarado, very good defenders in the NBA. Jose Alvarado, a top defending guard in the league. So that would be an upgrade there, but it would not. I don't think that upgrade on defense would counteract what losing LaMelo, especially right now at this point in the season and his career, would mean to the Hornets. I think it would be more negative in that regard than what positives the defensive upgrade would bring. Also, offensively, it is quite the drop-off as Murphy, Hawkins, or Alvarado don't have anywhere near the offensive skill set. Now, Alvarado can pass and he can play the point guard, but he doesn't have anywhere near the depth in his offensive bag that LaMelo does. And again, I just don't think it's a good fit. I don't think it's a good return for the Hornets. Now, I know there is a 2027 first-round pick involved in there, and that would just give the Hornets another one of those going forward in the future, something they have stacked up pretty readily already. I just don't think that this one is worth it. Again, I've mentioned that Alvarado is an elite defender, but I think that what we have here, what we've come down to in Charlotte is it's just time to accept the fact that we have and are going to continue to have LaMelo Ball on the roster. He's a staple piece of this Hornets organization. The fan base is behind him. They back LaMelo. We know how valuable he is. The front office has an extremely high asking price for him. They value him, and if he continues to play, or if he goes out this season and plays well and improves on his game, then I think the value that the Hornets have for him is only going to go up. Again, I've talked about his contract, his injury history may be a little bit of a turnoff to other organizations, but the Hornets and the fan base here, we have to accept that LaMelo is on our team. He is the point guard for the Hornets, and going forwards, we're going to have to move with him and build around him. I know this is just a summertime and space filler. I know what all of these mock trades are. I know what the rumor mill is for, but I personally am pretty ready to be done with the moving on from the LaMelo talk for the summer and time to get on to the regular season, get into some basketball, and and put the guys we have on the court and let them go out there and play and continue to develop and get better. Now, speaking of the 25-26 regular season, The writers and the media are starting to come out. They're starting to predict the starting rotations and the reserves as we now get closer to training camp and the preseason just a couple weeks, or training camp just a couple weeks away. Preseason is knocking at the door as well. Matt Alaquiza took his shot at guessing who will be the starters and the reserves for the Charlotte Hornets, even down to the amount of minutes that each person is going to play. So let's start with who he thinks are going to be the starters. He's got LaMelo, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Moussa Diabate starting at the 5. So there, we've talked about that several times. Is Moussa going to take that step and move into the starting role? Alaquiza does think that is going to be the case. I also tend to agree. I think Moose is going to start come night 1. Now, the minute breakdown is a little more interesting. He's got LaMelo playing 31 minutes a game, Con at 22, Brandon Miller at 31, Bridges at 33 minutes a game, and then Diabate down at 23 as well. So those are the breakdowns for what he thinks is going to be the starting rotation. And I've only got one thing that I think is a little bit surprising, and that is Con Knipple in the starting lineup in place of Colin Sexton. We've talked about that on the program this week. As a matter of fact, should Colin Sexton be in the starting lineup, or is it going to be Con on opening night? I think what's going to happen is it will probably be a combination of the two, if you ask me. I think on opening night, I think Colin Sexton is just more NBA ready. He's a proven veteran. We know what we're going to get from him. I think putting him out there to start at least opening night and then for a little while going forwards, just until Con gets some NBA minutes under his belt and proves that he can be a starter. There's no need to throw him to the Wolves and make him try to start, force him into a position that he doesn't have to be in, get him uncomfortable for no reason at all. Let him develop, sit behind Sexton, somebody we already know can start in the NBA, and bring Con along until it is his time to take over that position. Then let Sexton and Trey Mann handle things off the bench at the guard position. I think that's just fine. I just don't know that Con is going to be the guy come night 1. And I also, as we've talked about, I truly believe that Colin Sexton wants to be a Hornet, so that's going to only give him another piece of motivation to play well when he is on the floor. And the longer he is here, the more the coaches and the front office are going to agree that he is the starter for the time being. I think it's going to be interesting to watch which direction they go in at that position. I think the others that I mentioned, those are probably the easy ones to pick out. Again, we could see some movement at the center position between Diabate, Plumlee, and Kalkbrenner. It's going to be interesting to watch that position as well as training camp happens and the preseason unfolds. But those are your projected starters for the Charlotte Hornets right now. The reserves, we're talking Trey Mann, Colin Sexton, Josh Green, Tajon Salon, Mason Plumlee, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. We know about the rest of the roster. He did give a minutes breakdown for those guys as well. I found that interesting. He's got Trey Mann at 19 points per game, Colin Sexton 24 minutes a game, so him and Knipple, even if Con does split, Alaquiza thinks they're gonna share minutes quite a bit, and even has Sexton getting a little more off the bench. He's got Josh Green at 17 minutes a game, Salon at 15, Plumlee 17, and then Kalkbrenner cleaning things up, getting just 8 minutes a game as he continues to develop in his rookie season and become more NBA ready. Now, there's no surprises really to me with their reserves. Maybe the number of 19 minutes per game for Trey Mann. I just don't know if he's going to get quite that much workload. If he does, and he's able to build off of the performances he had last year as a sixth man, then I think the Hornets are in a great spot there going forward as well. Now, what I did notice, and I'm sure you guys have too, they have already assumed guys like Nick Smith Jr. and Daquan Jeffries have been moved on from. It does seem to be picking up more and more steam that those guys will not be on the Hornets come regular season. They're going to be two of the roster cuts that have got to be made to get this number down to 15. Now, I personally can't wait to see this group on the floor, watch how they come together and mesh, and what Charles Lee can do plugging and playing and getting guys in the right spots to make this team go and to move forwards. Again, with all the expectations we've talked about today, I still believe a play-in spot or even a playoff spot is up in the air for the Hornets, so it's going to be very interesting to watch all of that unfold and see how Charles Lee moves his rotation around to get the best guys on the floor, the best five at the time. That is going to be very exciting to watch. I got full trust in Charles Lee. I think he's going to have no problems handling that and getting these guys in the right spots at the right time on the floor with the right group of guys, continuing to go forwards and progress in the regular season. Again, we talked about what the most exciting thing on the show is here. We knew about two of the preseason games already. The Thunder game in Charleston and the Grizzlies game in Greensboro have been announced for quite some time. But on Tuesday, the full preseason schedule was announced, and now we know exactly what all of the preseason games will look like for the Charlotte Hornets. On paper, that preseason schedule is quite a bit daunting. We have 2 games against the defending champions. Cooper Flagg is on there, as well as the New York Knicks. So a trip to see Chris Jent again. The Memphis Grizzlies, as we've mentioned, a full docket, a full slate of some tough competitive teams. To be exact, the preseason schedule looks like this: October 5th against the Thunder, October 9th down in Oklahoma City against the Thunder, October 11th, a stop in Dallas against Cooper Flagg and the Mavericks. October 15th is the Memphis Grizzlies, and then wrapping things up on October 17th in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. So again, you heard there, that means the Hornets play the Thunder in the preseason 2 times in 4 days. That's going to be quite the test there. It depends on who's on the floor. Obviously, all of these matchups are going to depend on who's playing and who's on the floor. But a test against the defending champs twice in 4 days is quite the measuring stick to start off the preseason, to throw these rookies, to throw these young guys, these new additions onto the roster. It's quite the measuring stick to jump out and do that for your first 2 preseason games, again, twice in 4 days. Now, I know you were listening. I know you're already thinking it. The Mavericks game does mean a matchup of 2 former Duke Blue Devil teammates, as Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel will face off for the first time in NBA action. It'll be exciting. That one will have a lot of storylines and some things to watch as well. And we'll have to watch and see just how much playing time those rookies are getting in early October in the preseason. I'd imagine it's going to be a good amount, not just Con Knippel, Sion James also taking on his former teammate Cooper Flagg. He should probably get a good amount of minutes in not just that game, but in the entire preseason, as the Hornets try and continue to figure out what his role is going to be, how big of an impact is he going to have on the NBA roster this season. Again, we know about the Memphis game. The excitement there is that one is taking place in Greensboro, giving the Hornets fans from other places a chance to come in and see the team play in a different spot, maybe one a little more conveniently located to where some of the Hornets fans are. They'll get to travel in and watch the Grizzlies game. That'll be an exciting matchup as well. And then finishing off at Madison Square Garden, a week ago, that would not have been anything other than just a chance to go up and play the Knicks to get some good experience against some high-level NBA talent. But now a little more looms there, as the Hornets will take a trip to visit their Summer League champion coach, Chris Jent, as I've told you earlier in the week, as you probably know if you didn't hear it here, but you did somewhere else. Chris Jent has agreed on a contract with Mike Brown's staff at the New York Knicks. He's going to be an associate head coach. He'll be playing the offensive coordinator role, or filling the offensive coordinator role for Mike Brown's Knicks staff. So that'll be an exciting way to wrap up the preseason now. This preseason has now become full of storylines here for the Hornets. I know that's not something that we're used to saying in the preseason, but it is a visit with Chris Jent. Two chances against the defending champions, Cooper Flagg versus Con Knippel. Full of storylines, full of excitement, reasons to watch the preseason, that is for sure. I will say it again, though, it's going to depend on who each team puts on the floor. What rotations are they trying to figure out? What are they trying to accomplish with these preseason games? The matchups and the excitement are going to depend heavily on who is on the floor. I think the Hornets are going to play a lot of their guys a good amount of minutes. Obviously, it's going to be important to keep LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, those guys healthy throughout the preseason, but they also have to be on the floor because they've got to figure out how to play with a lot of these new additions. That's something we talked about specifically with Brandon Miller over the last couple weeks as well. And again, the measuring sticks that are on this preseason schedule bode very well for the Hornets. Again, two games against the defending champions. The Knicks made a deep playoff run, and they're supposed to be one of the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference. A matchup, the Mavericks not highly touted or supposed to be a very good team, but a matchup against the number one overall pick. There's still some veterans on that Mavericks team. It'll be a good test for the rest of the Hornets roster as well. And then again, of course, the exciting visit up to New York to play against the Knicks and Chris Jent. That'll be a matchup, the upper echelon of both conferences, not just the Eastern Conference, which would be another good test for a team who wants to make the playoffs and potentially at some point in their future have a playoff series, playoff competition with a team from the Western Conference. I know what that means. I know where that takes place. But that is a goal for the Hornets. It is where they're striving to get to. So a matchup against two of the top talents in both conferences in the preseason, again, are just a good measuring stick, a good watermark for where this team is at and where they are going. Again, it's beneficial for the rest of this new roster. Like I've said, the new additions, not Brandon Miller, not LaMelo Ball, not Miles Bridges, guys we know about. But you could even consider the newness of Moussa Diabate and Tajon Salan. Moose played a little bit more. Tajon was hurt last year. He's coming off injury, but both of those guys are still developing, so they too can almost be part of this new roster. We know we won't see Grant Williams or Josh Green in the preseason as they're continuing to recover from injury, but that alone will allow for more minutes from young guys like Liam McNeely, like Sion James, like Kalkbrenner, like Colin Sexton, and Con Knipple to step up. Spencer Dinwiddie, Pat Connaughton, whoever that may be, who's got to step up and figure out exactly what their role is going to be with this Hornets franchise and organization. There's a lot of guys that fit that mold that are going to need to play in the preseason, going to need to play well and show and produce what they can do here in Charlotte to kind of establish their spot and establish their role going forwards into the regular season. It's going to be very interesting to watch them be thrown into the fire, thrown up against the Wolves, and see if this group of NBA players, veterans and rookies, a mix of both, can they mesh? Can they play well? Can Charles Lee find the right five? Can he find a rotation that he likes playing together that will help establish a winning culture in not just this season but going forwards? Again, as we know, the Hornets trying to scratch and claw their way out of the NBA's basement and move up into a little more respected team as they try to make the playoffs and go forwards and bring some success here to the Queen City. It all starts on October 5th, folks, and that's getting here a lot faster than you think. A couple more blinks of the eye, and we will be in October. The preseason will be underway. The regular season will be right around the corner. How Charles Lee treats his minutes and rotations during this preseason, as I was just saying, is going to be very interesting to watch. Going to be extremely exciting to see who he puts on the floor together, who he plugs and plays, and when he plugs and plays them. That's going to be fun to watch. We're going to keep an eye on it for you. We'll have all the updates, and even before then, we'll keep bringing you all the news because you know that's what we do here on Hornets Daily. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. As always, thanks so much for watching along with us. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on some of the things we were talking about today. Am I crazy for thinking that LaMelo trade is just ridiculous, or is that just me? Let me know down in the chat, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for another episode of Hornets.